Guru Nation, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you so much for watching all the way from Miami, Florida. Is that correct?
Yeah.
We got Jen Pages on. Jen's got an amazing story, right? She started out as a front desk, right? Front desk. She's got a bachelor's in psychology from Florida International University. She's currently a project manager with Icon, one of the biggest CROs out there. And she reached out saying, you know what? Love to talk to you. Love to come on your podcast. What's the process for getting guests on? I said, there is no process. The universe brings them, and then we share it with the world. That's all we do. There's nothing else that we're trying to get out of this. But everybody go connect with Jen right now. Her LinkedIn is underneath this video. Jen, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Very
And
excited.
likewise, I really appreciate the enthusiasm you came with when you emailed me. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. So I got into clinical research when I was 20 years old because my mom was in clinical research all her life, and I used to like just volunteer whenever like I had days off in high school. And then she ended up, I guess, opening up her own site, and I came in like the front desk. I really didn't know much. I just knew regulatory, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I was just helping, and then it ended up we were open for about 12 years, I would say. And I helped basically in everything. I got certified by SOCRA, with SOCRA and everything. And then I just decided to take a leap. Um, COVID was really hard on our site. So I decided to take the leap into Icon. And I interviewed literally like for a whole year straight, like 45 interviews, and I just kept getting no, no, you don't have enough experience, you don't have enough experience. And I was just like, no, I could do this. I know I can.
But
And I
you,
just,
like at the site, what were you though? You had to have some experience because at the site you were doing things. You must have been doing things at the site level.
yeah, so I ended up, I mean, I'm one of those type of people that just kind of likes to get into everything. So even if it wasn't something I had to do, I was still like, okay, but what are you doing? I want to know what you're doing. And that's kind of how I learned everything, like I did. And then so when I was doing the interviews, I would go to like the last interview, and they would tell me no. And so much, like such a
Wow.
big part of me wanted to just like give up. I was like, whatever, maybe I'm not good enough yet. And I kept telling myself, no, 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 I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And then that's when I had that final interview when I was with Icon, and it was like a real world solutions. And they made me do like a presentation in front of all these directors, and then they ended up giving me an offer a week later.
Yeah, clinical trial manager, real world solutions.
Hmm.
So what were you actually doing? And was that like remote? Your job was remote. Your current job still is remote, but what was that specific job CTM about? Was it actually like in charge of certain studies, or was it more of
Yeah.
some of their
So
other initiatives?
it was I was in charge of two studies, but just the clinical operations part. So like I basically was overseeing the study team, like the CRAs, the SMAs, things like that. So I would oversee them
Wow.
and make sure that the data was in line with what the sponsor wanted, and like all those deviations and trends in the sites and all of that. So basically the project manager, the difference is just they do budgets and they do financing. That's basically the big difference.
And that's what you're doing now.
That's what I'm doing now. So the CTM role is just more involved with just the clinical operations portion and like the metrics and the queries and all of that.
And what are you seeing now in your role as project manager? How, like at Icon, um, how do
It's
you like the project management role compared to CTM?
so I honestly started getting a passion for clinical research when I had my son, which is why I even started applying for Icon and stuff like that. I started really like understanding like the opportunity that I was put into, because sometimes when you're like automatically kind of like in it already. Like you don't realize how great it is, I guess. And I never, like, I came from a poor family. Like I never thought I would be where I'm at. So knowing like all that, it kind of helps because in my position now, I'm like, I have to be like a leader. And like, I'm not the kind of leader that's like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm kind of just like, okay, we need this. How can we get there? Like, let's help each other out. Let's figure it out. And like, it's a lot of delegating, a lot. Like, like you could do stuff obviously, but it's more like you have other so many other things to do that you have to make sure like you're delegating the team and motivating them to want to work and to want to like accomplish those goals that the sponsors set.
Who do you oversee right now? Like, what kind of in your current role as project management? What do you do?
I oversee, so like I have two studies, well, three studies, and I oversee the whole clinical team. So
Wow,
the only person on top is the project director.
Jen, give us a study here in Yuma. Right, we need a study in the desert, all the way from Miami. We can do cardio, pulmonary, sleep, internal, psych, and derm. I know you
Okay,
got something.
I can figure something out for you.
All right, thank you.
But what I do want to say, so like since I started from a site, it really really helped me understand what they're looking for, and I
Yep.
could really like understand like why sites get studies and why some don't, and like it all kind of like made
Why?
sense
Give
to
us
me.
the reason. Lana can't hear you. She's here working, but she can't hear you because you're in my headphones. But she's in charge. I put her in charge of like some biz dev stuff.
Oh
She was on
yeah,
an auto today. You did that? Heart failure. We're trying to do a heart failure thing with an auto.
and that
But
was awesome.
yeah, I like it, Nado. Shout out to Nado. They're a sponsor of the podcast. We like
Yeah,
them.
they are awesome.
No, we don't
Uh,
get special treatment just because they rejected us on a study today. But we don't stop. We come back. We come right back.
then not every study is gonna want what your site has to offer.
Right.
But the more you have to offer, the easier it is to get
So you're
studies.
telling me, Jen, right now, from all the sites watching, if people message you on LinkedIn, you know they're gonna be hitting you up. Jen, give us a study. What are you gonna tell them?
Honestly, it's your whole efficiency of your clinic. Like, are you efficient? Are you answering your emails quickly? Are you being kind? Are you being
Aha!
memorable?
I should take my headphones off so Lana can hear this. Are
Yeah.
you answering emails efficiently? Are you? What else do you say?
Are you being memorable? Are you kind? Like
Are you kind? Well, yeah, she's kind for sure. That part. Email efficiently. I think so.
and then queries,
She's
like
OCD.
make sure like you're leaving a good
Queries.
impression, you're answering queries
Are you
on
leaving
time.
a good impression on your queries? Yeah. She leaned back and like, eh. She's cracking up. No, she's pretty good. Our staff's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good though. And obviously, the more experience, the more that you're given. But research is such about who you know and stuff like that. So
It is. Yeah, biz
being-
dev. We got to see you at Save Our Sites too next year. You didn't go
I
this
was
year, right?
gonna go. I was gonna go, but it was too late when I found out about it. I think it was like a
Next
week
year,
away.
yeah, next year's gonna be Oklahoma City. There's our logo right there. We're making a little employee lounge over there where people can zen out, drink coffee. I don't know if you can do those two things at the same time, but yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah, that would be nice. I
So you
would
know
definitely
you're gonna get a bunch of people reaching out now. Jen, we need study.
go.
Um, but that's the name of the game. And you come from a site background, so you understand. And you said your mom owned a site, or
She did, yeah.
nice in
She retired,
Florida.
kind
Oh,
of.
okay.
She kind of is working remotely, but she kind of retired at the same time.
What kind of indications were you guys doing, or was she? Well, you too,
Internal
because you were there.
medicine,
Okay,
internal medicine, vaccines, kind of like the same ones you guys do.
and you guys are in the most competitive by far,
It is so
the
hard.
most competitive market in the world, in the
It's so
known universe.
hard. Literally, I want to say not even a mile from where the clinic was, there was three other sites within a mile.
We're not that far from the next site either, the hospital, but they do oncology and rare disease, which we don't do too much of either.
Yeah.
But never say never. But other than that, we are like 200 miles away from the nearest site. We're like in the
That
middle of the desert.
that is amazing. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
lie. That sounds like
And
a dream for people who have sites.
it's a dream. And we're right by the Mexican border, and we're right by the California border in Arizona. Like we're 2 hours from San Diego, 2 hours from Phoenix. I'm really
Wow,
trying to do a good job to sell people right now. I need to, but
I could
it's a good
tell.
location.
It's
And
working.
then Lana's like the mayor of Yuma, or like the de facto mayor.
You're gonna see
So
like
it's
20 more sites opening now.
20 more sites coming to Yuma because of this podcast. Don't come. We already got all the doctors. They're all on the board. If they're not on there, that means they're not good. Don't waste your time. Uh, how can someone do what you do? Like you right now, CROs. Again, Jen is not speaking for her employer; she's speaking for herself. But right now, CROs and sponsors are kind of like not hiring like they were before. What's the mood like where you are? Or is it just business as usual?
Oh, there's definitely a lot of layoffs in my company.
It was recently Icon too, actually, right? They were the
Yeah.
one most recently on in the
Um,
news.
I want to say like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, probably.
Yeah, it was like Thursday or Friday, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely. I think it was Thursday actually
Were
when
you
they.
ever worried, like, hey, it might be me, or do you feel like,
To be honest with you, I want to say like a year ago, it was the same department that I was in, and it was actually people I was working with that got laid off, and they actually were honest with me and told me that they tried to do it for the position I was in, but they couldn't find good help. They couldn't
wow?
find replacements, but
So
yeah, so
you would have been one of the ones
yeah,
also eliminated.
yeah, it was really scary, but it's. I feel like it's just the name of the game. Like COVID, when COVID hit, like everything booms so high, and it's kind of like the stock market. Like it has to go back, it has to correct itself, it has to, like
Mm.
there, it's just normal, like I guess, I don't know, economics. So I was just waiting for it to happen, and I'm just keep praying that it doesn't happen to my position.
You, but they did like a pretty like big round of layoffs, so
Big.
hopefully that's the end of it, right? The
I don't
beginning and
know,
end.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I wish I had more information on it, but I have no idea. I just know.
As someone in your role, though, how do you keep your head straight? Like, okay, we just got a bunch of people laid off, like a lot of them my colleagues. They literally told me it would have been me, but they couldn't. Like, what's going through your head during this? Like, just keep doing as good a job as you can and network, or like what is going through your head during this time?
What's going through my head is just keep going. I've never been the type of person that has let like fear like take over. So I'm kind of just like, okay, well, I'll just keep working harder and keep going and just see where it leads me. At the end of the day, if I get laid off, I'm gonna get laid off, whether I'm a hard worker or not, because that's just the name of the game. But it's funny because I had a colleague of mine who actually was part of the layoff, and I actually was able to save her job because I was like, look, she's really good. What can we do? Is there like another department we can put her in? Like, what can we do?
Mm.
And
It's because
I
you're in
asked,
like a leadership role over there, so you have some
yeah,
sway, you have
I have a little bit.
some impact. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a little bit, and it's only because like I am a hard worker. So like I always get like escalation studies, and I have to get them out of escalation. Like I have to clean it all up. And so like when I'm in a study, and when I was in that study and it happened and we were in escalation, I was like, look, you guys just put me on the study and now you guys are gonna take off the best person on the team because of a layoff. And I was like, you guys have to
For
figure out a way to save her because I can't do it without her.
for those that don't know, can you explain like what's escalation study and like what that actually
Yeah.
means?
So when the study team, so meaning like the project manager, clinical trial manager, the CRAs, all of that are not that they're not doing a good job, but like the metrics are off. So like there's a lot of queries like that are over 60, 90 days. There's a lot of protocol deviations. There's a lot like just the study is just not going well, right? So A lot of action items that are open, it's not audit ready. So like the TMF doesn't have all the ISF documents that are needed. Like people weren't collecting the documents that were needed, and then the sponsor's not happy, obviously, because I mean, if you need data to be entered and there's sites that haven't entered data for 3 months, like, you're gonna be like,
3 months.
mm-hmm.
And what happens to those sites? Just a warning to
No,
those
so
listening.
obviously we need them to finish the study. So
Wow.
you have them finish the study, but
That's
at the
not Lana, I can guarantee you that.
same
There's some sites that don't enter data for 3 months.
yeah,
Don't get any ideas though. It's bad.
no, it's bad.
Why? She said why?
The sponsor literally says, make sure we don't have this site
Oh,
next
we'll
time.
never use that site again. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, Lana's not like that. So that's basically escalation. You're given like,
Yeah.
thank you, Lana. I'll see you tomorrow. So you're given like the sites or the studies where they're having a lot of. So escalation basically is like a catch-all term for the study's in trouble for a
Mhm.
variety of reasons. Usually, it's related to data,
Data
behind
quality,
on data. Okay.
yeah, protocol deviation, so patient safety, things like that.
Mm. Do
Mm-hmm.
you physically like if you have to? Do you go travel to the site or
I've offered. I haven't had to yet, but I have
okay?
offered. Yeah.
What do you do? Let's say I'm a site. Let's say you just took over, right? Your leadership came to you. Who would be above you? Like, what's their position called?
The project director.
Project director. Okay, so let's say your project director comes to you and say, "Hey, we have this new study. One of the worst sites is Yuma Clinical Trials, and now let's pretend you got me on the phone. I'm the site director. Like, what are you gonna be telling me?
Honestly, I would just say, so we've noticed that you haven't entered data in 3 months. And we wanted to know if there's anything we can do to help support you enter the data, because as you know, part of our contract states that you have to enter data within 5 days, business days. So I don't know if there's anything we can do. Do you need a research assistant to help you enter data? What is it that we can do to
Wow. Okay. And what if I say, well, Jen, we're a business and it's tough, and we have a lot of studies right now, and you guys haven't paid us in like 6 months. I mean, do you often get that as a a reply?
So no, honestly, we have had studies say that we haven't paid them, but they can't not enter data because of that. Like, I don't know
Uh,
if that makes sense. Like,
so what would you tell them, like, if I
I would tell
responded
them,
like that?
I completely understand where you're coming from. I'm gonna contact the grant specialist right now so that I can make sure that we expedite your payment and see what's
Mm.
going on. I'll make sure to keep you updated. But while I do this, is there any way that you can enter the data? And
Yeah,
I'm really
that research assistant would be good, Jen. How does that actually work?
So basically, we would provide the research assistant, you would add them to your delegation log. We would already have them trained to the protocol, and they would just go on site and enter the data for you and to help you, and there's no charge to you or anything.
Okay. And Jen, I want to work with Icon in the future. I'm sorry we got to this point. Is there anything I can do to rectify this that would make you want to come back to us later?
Yeah, just make sure you enter data on time from now on.
So that's simple.
Yeah, it is.
Does it usually get resolved like with just one call, or is there usually more
For
of like a
me,
systemic?
I haven't needed to do more than two calls. I haven't needed to, but I
So
think it's
what's
more
like
just like
the issue then? Like what are
it's
these sites just like ignoring your study, or what's
people
going
just
on?
don't. Okay, so it's like any leadership position. How you lead us like how you lead is gonna determine how serious everyone takes you, right? I'm not leading in a way that it's like you have to do this because like that's what you're contracted to do. Like obviously I could say that, but I'm not gonna be that type of leader. I'm gonna be the type of leader that's gonna be like, this is our problem. How do we solve it? Right.
Mhm,
So I feel like the people that are like, oh well, I need you to enter this, and then the site's like, okay, well, I have this problem, so I'm gonna have to enter next week, and then they're just kind of like, okay, and then the next week it's like another problem, and they're like, oh, it's okay, can you do it next week? And then it just gets out of hand, right?
mhm,
So it's like is learning a balance, learning to be compassionate at what someone is going through, but at the same time understanding that they have to be compassionate to us as well. So like, we have deadlines too, we have metrics too, we look bad if something goes out of window for too long. So
So
it's
does
just
that mean that the CRAs were not communicating effectively, or
yes,
that's usually what it boils down to?
yes, 100%.
Hmm.
Usually it's that. Sometimes there's sites that are just, and then when you get a project manager, CTM involved, they're like, "Oh, I'll do it right now," and they kind of just like enter it. And then you have sites that are just like mad at the series or
Mm.
mad at the study team. So then that's why they were entering. And then so I kind of become a therapist too because I'm kind of like, okay, tell me what's going on. Like, and they're like, well, you've had 5 CRAs in the last year and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, I know that must have been really hard. Like, because I understand I've had 5 CRAs in 1 year and it's the worst. So like being able to use that site experience has helped me be able to handle
Mm.
sites are angry
So
when
they
sites.
respect you more because of your site background,
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
and you rely on that
I
to
do.
help, and it generally works because they see that you're on the
Mhm.
same page.
And I'm on their side, and I feel like anybody
Mm.
that you make feel like you're on their side is gonna help you. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we are on the same side. We want
Right,
this research study to be successful. We don't want it to
right.
fail. There's a lot of
And of
patience.
course, you'll always have those sites that are difficult. I mean, we've met those sites before. Like, not every site's an angel. Like,
Yeah.
they're sites that are just difficult on purpose,
Mhm.
um, or just key opinion leaders that are like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. They don't care because they know the sponsor's going to keep working with them, which that happens a lot too, and it must be challenging for the CROs,
Yeah, but the sponsors will stop working with sites if they make it difficult. That's the
even
thing.
the key opinion leader.
Yeah, they will.
I see. Do you notice your issues more with like academic medical centers or private sites?
Academic, for sure.
So when you're calling the AMCs, like it's harder to have this conversation, right? Because they don't really care about your background like at a small site. They're like, okay, Jan, that's nice, but
No, no, they've never been like that. They've never been like that. They've been really nice, to be honest with you. But
okay.
most of those are the sites that are more like, "Well, I'm really busy, as you can imagine." And it's like, "Yeah, I could, but we still need you to do it."
And so they end up doing it. They just need someone to call them and talk to them.
Mhm. Most of the time.
So weird.
Compassionate. Mhm.
It seems like it's such a simple solution. Like there's got to be something more than
I
just that.
honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you because that's honestly how it works for me.
We need to have you on a panel at the next SOS talking about this, like CRO site communication. Because
Yeah, it's
I think I'm gonna write it down that to have you on the panel when we start thinking of panels that we're gonna do, which we should start planning the conference soon. Actually, would you be down to come?
yeah, of course. I'll
Okay,
help you plan it too if you want.
Jen pages. Well, luckily we have people now that have been doing it, but just come to the panel, like be on the
Yeah, yeah,
panel.
I'll do it for sure.
Panel on CRO site communications,
Mhm.
and then sponsor. Okay, interesting. All right. And what advice do you have for? Are you in like a role like where you're also in charge of CRAs too, like
Yeah,
currently?
I am.
What advice do you have for? Are you involved in like the hiring, like the interview process?
Not involved in the hiring, but I oversee everything. Like I have to approve even
See,
invoices.
Jaime. Jen Pages from Icon in
I
Miami.
Oh, they
We're live doing a pod. Jaime's our nurse practitioner. She helps sites get studies too.
All
And
right.
then when sites are behind on data or whatever, she's the one that calls and says, "How can we
The quality
fix
control.
this?" Yeah.
Cool, cool.
And so she's gonna come to SOS and be on the panel.
Yeah.
The first panelist announced, by the way, for 2025 is Jen Pages, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma City.
Sounds good.
Never been. Shout out to Brett Hightower, but thank you, Jaime.
All right,
See you
bye.
later, man.
See you, bro.
See ya.
Take care, man.
Okay.
Good, man.
nurse practitioner, best one in the world, guys. Best one in Yuma for sure. Um, so you're not in charge of the hiring the CRAs or the interview aspect.
No, I am in charge of, like, let's say the sponsor needs to interview them before they approve them on the study. I would handle that. Or like when they, when they have to like book a hotel or flight and all that, I have to approve their costs, things like
Oh,
that.
okay, like
I
the
oversee the invoicing. I oversee basically their metrics, things like that.
oh, their metrics.
Hmm.
So what's the biggest advice you can give CRAs on improving their metrics? Maybe start by telling us what's an important metric or whatever, a few important metrics, and what are some common ones that CRAs don't hit repeatedly.
The most important one I would say is a timely trip report submission,
Mm.
making sure that they're submitting it within 7 days of their IMB.
I just had a site selection visit. I won't name who it is. It wasn't you guys. At least I don't think it was you guys. I know the sponsor is, but I'm not gonna say that either. We had our first of all right. It was a remote SSV,
Hmm.
so I rushed with Jaime, who you just saw,
Hmm.
to our PI's office, our pulmonologist, because we needed to get him on the Zoom. And so the only way to guarantee it was to physically bring my laptop and make sure he's on there. That's the only way to get him on. So he was there. We're all there, huddled around this laptop, waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. And I'm texting, and I'm emailing, and finally the CRA emails me back. Oh, I'm so sorry. I had computer issues. I actually think they forgot. And
Okay.
so she's like, but thank you so much for sending us all the stuff earlier. We're going to make this really quick. So she got on 40 minutes late. 40. We told the PI, go see patients, come back. Like they're probably going to be late. She got on. We did it. It was like a 10-minute go through slides. Thank you
Yeah.
for sending us all the stuff because our coordinators were really good. Lana and Luis sent like everything they asked for.
Yeah.
They said, okay, if you don't have questions, we'll just keep going through these slides. Of course, we didn't.
Yeah.
SSV ended. That was a month ago, right? Yesterday, not yesterday, because that was Sunday. Friday, I emailed. I said, what's going on? We haven't heard anything about our SSV. And
Yeah.
I'm already thinking this person didn't even like do it for real.
Yeah.
Well, she's like, no, sorry. And then she CC'd her boss. We're going to get back to you. Her boss emailed me this morning. Sorry, usually doesn't take this long, but we'll give you an update in a few days. I think they all just forgot. And I think it boiled down to this trip report because this lady was clearly overworked. The lady
Yeah.
was clearly overworked.
Yeah.
They didn't even remember the SSV. Was so rushed that she didn't even care. Like, yeah, we can do everything. And then forgot to let us know, like, no follow up letter or anything.
Oh my
So,
gosh. That's
I,
terrible.
again, I don't think it's icon, and it's not common because I don't think I've had a situation like that ever in 17 years that I've been doing this. But I don't know. What does that tell you? You're in charge of these people. Like, what does
Yeah.
that tell you?
Um, two things: either they're overworked or they're not organized,
Yeah, or both.
or both. Yeah.
Either one of those or both.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, I know some people that are overworked, and let me just tell you, they're like a machine. And then there's other people that are overworked and they're just all over the place. There's actually some people who don't really have a lot of work and they're just like terrible.
So if something happens, give me advice here. If
Mhm.
something happens where they come back and say, "Sorry, we didn't select you," should I go back to whoever's in charge, like find you for their study, and say, "Hey, look, this is what happened. I don't think this is correct. Like, right? Should I do something like that, or what would
You
happen?
could.
What would you do if that happened to you and you were the one on the other side?"
I would. So, um, I would definitely say something. I would speak to the project manager or the CTM on the study and
Hmm.
just voice my concern and just say, look, this is my concern. I don't think it was because we weren't qualified or weren't a good site. I just feel like the CRA was a little either overworked or a little disorganized because this is what happened. But um, please let me know if there's anything else, any other studies that we can qualify for. But I would definitely let them know because a lot of times the study team doesn't even know what's going on.
Clearly, because they like no one would have told me anything if it wasn't for my email Friday. I feel like,
Yeah, yeah, no, and follow up is so important.
yeah,
Follow up is really important. Yeah, following
and
up,
I
like,
think it was the CTM that replied back, and she said something along the lines of, "Oh, I'm sorry, it usually doesn't take us this long." Um, Something
yeah,
about, I'm sorry, and that we'll get back to you in a few days.
yeah,
It was just really weird.
yeah. It's usually the CTM is the one that has to like kind of show their face first, and then it's like a project manager.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
I'll keep a close eye on that one because that's a study that the PI really wants. And I mean, he made it a point to be there for the Zoom, and I even told him this is not usually how it goes because he's a newer PI. This is not usually how it goes. Like they're usually like on it. I don't know what's going on here.
If it's a respiratory study, I could be icon. That's all I gotta say.
I'm curious now who it is. I can't find the email. Speaking of being organized, but let me see.
Could be because I know that they have a
Maybe I'll blink once if it's icon, and maybe twice if it's not. Uh, Trying to find it, but your thoughts on this is this is not common. I don't
No,
think.
it's not. It's not common. Just remember, what a lot of sponsors, a lot of CROs are having a lot of layoffs. So there's a lot of transition,
That's another thing I was worried about. Yeah.
a lot of transition of employees. So things get lost in the mix. So I would definitely always follow up, especially in
You
these
know
times.
what? I found it. I found who it is. Yeah. It starts with an I and ends with an N. Yeah, you're right. And then
I
the
guess
the
I know what
person who
study it
replied,
is. That's why.
you probably do. The sponsor that replied, the person who replied back to me was the sponsor.
The sponsor. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Like from it had the sponsor on the signature.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Someone's gonna get in trouble.
Serious? I have a feeling that I just didn't want to lose the study. Like I'm not trying to get people in trouble.
No, no, no. Because, like I said, there's a lot of CRAs that were laid
Hmm.
off
Yeah.
recently, and that has.
I think what happened is they gave this one like all the overflow work because of that. Yeah, makes sense.
So what
Hey, she
happens
was
is
really nice.
they try to get just anyone to cover, right? Even if they're
Yeah.
not on the study. So it's like you put out like a request, and someone who has availability can cover it, right? But doesn't mean that they are on the study. So then that's what causes delays. So like let's say that person covered and then they got laid off and they were probably like, oh, I'm not gonna do the trip report.
I see. Ah, okay.
Yeah. So
But
that's
I
fine.
think now that I'm looked back at it, that it's the sponsor. I didn't even notice that this morning when I saw the email. But now when I looked, it was the sponsor replying back. I just assumed it was like CTM or project manager
Yeah,
or something.
usually if a sponsor responds to you, that's usually followed up with the sponsor forwarding the email to us saying, hey, why?
Ah, you might see it then.
Asking
You
me.
might see
No,
this
I'm not on
tomorrow.
that study. I just know what
Uh,
study it is because I know
you
this
do know.
study is having recruitment things.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about it after the podcast. We definitely need you at SOS for the
Yes, I'll be
panel.
there.
Um, so we gave advice for sites. So how do the CRAs improve their metrics then? I mean, let's
Just
say the
while
metric
you're
of
on
trip report.
site, fill it out. Just be filling it out, so that when you're done, you really have very few things to enter in. And then what I have always seen help is like they have kind of like templates of what to fill out, and then all they have
Yeah.
to do is edit things, like like, oh, this I did this. but then you just edit like the date of the consent or whatever it is, and it just helps it flow faster. So basically, while you're
Mhm.
on site, you can enter all of it, and then all you have to do is click submit. And if there's any revisions, the CTM will always send it back and tell you what they need revised, and that's it.
Yep, I agree. I had a 3-year stint as a contract CRA. Just
Hmm.
I had like 4 sites on the West Coast, like on the and actually in LA and San Francisco. And
Hmm.
I did the same thing. I wouldn't leave the site till I had the trip report like almost done, and then I would finish it either at the airport before my flight took off, or on rare cases like the next day. But I would
Yeah.
always make sure it's like at least 90% done before I go to sleep that night, and then just finish it out, like, really, like, if I need some details, put it in the next
Yeah.
day, but that's the advice I have, but I can see how CRAs can get behind too.
Yeah, I could see it too, especially if they're covering for other series in the study.
Yep.
Sometimes, like, the study's behind, they need you to do, like, visits and stuff like that, so I can understand. It's just
CRA is a tough job.
inefficient. Yeah, oh, yeah. I could not do it. That's why I was like, "I'm not even gonna try to go for CRA. I'm going straight to CTM."
Do you think you would do it now or no?
No.
Oh.
And not for nothing, I have 2 little kids, and I can't travel like that. I just
Yeah,
can't.
that's right. The traveling is the part that's also like, forget about just the workload, it's the travel as
Mhm.
well, and it's there's no wonder why there's always a shortage. From these layoffs, were they not necessarily just Icon, but the industry wide, like, were they CRAs being laid off or just
Yes, and there was, in-house CRAs being laid off, and
wow.
clinical trial assistants being laid off. Um,
But what I feel like they're just gonna need to hire more people like in 3 months. They're gonna go on another hiring frenzy in 3 months. So yeah, I guess this is
if
above
they're
our
not
pay grade.
already doing it
I
in the
see.
industry.
Ah,
Mhm.
there's a lot of complexity on this.
Mhm. A lot of things they
Wow.
probably don't have the authority to say, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is above both of our pay grades for sure. So
Mhm.
we could just speculate. And oftentimes it looks like even the people on like higher up at the CROs are in the same they're in the dark too.
Yeah, so a lot of times, like, even the directors don't know it's gonna happen until, like, the day before,
I
or,
wonder
like,
if we
they're
can
told
get
that they can't say anything.
I wonder if we can get you on Latinos in Clinical Research podcast or monthly meetup one of these days too, because I noticed on your LinkedIn profile you have that you have
Yeah.
celebrate Latino voices.
Yes, I'm Cuban, obviously, in Miami.
Hmm. We're gonna have to do that. I'll send a group message to get you on that. And so SOS and then Latinos in Clinical Research. Everybody go connect with Jen right now underneath the videos, her LinkedIn, and if you're listening, it's in the show notes in the podcast. Anything else you want to say, Jen? We can do
No,
more. We'll do part 2, part 3. Maybe at SOS we'll do an in-person
that's
podcast, like a
okay.
20-minute sit down.
Sounds good.
Anything else you'd like to say to Guru Nation or just anything we didn't touch on?
I do wanna say, like, for everybody, it's gonna get better, the job market, and not to give up. Clinical research is a really good field, and it's hard right now, just like every field goes through, it's, like, tough times, but not to give up because it's gonna get back up.
Hmm. Thank you for that, Jen. Maybe we'll do that topic, um, maintaining sanity during layoffs.
Yeah,
Uh, that okay. I'll
the
write
study.
that one down for the Latinos in Clinical Research monthly meetup.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jen. Everybody go connect with her. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Go connect with her right now. Don't ask her for studies. Only I can do that. All right. Bye bye.
Alright, bye.